Okay, now that I've recovered from the mental trauma that was peering into NephilimFree's mind, it's time to continue debunking his video. Just as I did last time, I will include Claire's video clip to put Nephi's clip into context. I should note that this next clip is quite long, but bear with me.
Have you ever seen a large sheet of steel bend or sag, Neff? See, the thing is objects that appear to be quite rigid when you're looking at a small sample can actually be quite bendable if you're looking at them as a large sheet. For example, let's take something off the desk here. Well, this is an engineering scale. This one's plastic. I'm sure you're unfamiliar with these objects. As you see, it's not very bendable. But if I had a sheet of this plastic this thick, and it was big as this room, it would be very bendable. And sedimentary rock layers are kind of like that too. Individual rock layers may be only a few feet thick, but they may extend for miles laterally.
Claire, you non-thinking uniformitarianist, you. First off, you're pointing to steel as an example of how rock can bend? How scientific of you, Claire. Claire, steel and rock do not have the same properties. Steel does not have tensile strength only, like rock. Rock cannot be bent unless high temperatures are applied to it. And even then, not all kinds of rock will bend unless they become molten. You see, Claire, rock doesn't bend. It's brittle. It breaks. Now look at these photographs, Claire. We're not talking about rocks, strata, that are miles long. We're talking about some that are inches wide or feet wide. Do you see the human beings in some of these photographs, Claire? We're not talking about your cockamamie model in your head where strata miles long have been bent. We're talking about strata, areas of strata no more than feet or inches wide, which have been bent and curled every which way from Sunday. Rock cannot bend that way, Claire. Fail. The only way the strata could have been bent is because they were still plastic, still soft and moist when they were bent.
Nephi, you non-thinking creationist, Bible-thumping, God-fearing, lie-spreading,
cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is! Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
Do you realize how much of a fool you've made out of yourself? Not only did you do no research before making your asinine arguments, but you've mocked your opponent with practically nothing but your insane drivel to back up your insults. As it turns out, rocks can bend without breaking. How, you might ask? Well, it depends on a number of factors. Temperature, moisture, time, but most of all, pressure. As you'll notice, Nephilim, these layers don't just stand by themselves. They are, in fact, sandwiched between other layers. These layers offer each other support, like two pieces of bread with slices of turkey in the middle. When the rock layer slowly begins to bend, the layers outside of it bend with it. The pressure of the outside layers on the inner layer support that layer, allowing it to bend without breaking. Let's take a look at an analogous situation involving another very brittle material, plaster.
Squeeze box with two layers of sand with an intervening layer of plaster to illustrate what happens to rocks when they behave plastically. Both the sand and the plaster are behaving plastically. You can see that a fold is being produced. And also that the plaster layer is beginning to break.
Well, what do you know? It seems that, under the right circumstances, rocks can bend after all. As usual, you need to perform actual research before spouting your incredulous nonsense. As for this,
we're talking about some that are inches wide or feet wide. Do you see the human beings in some of these photographs, Claire? We're not talking about your cockamamie model in your head where strata miles long have been bent. We're talking about strata, areas of strata no more than feet or inches wide, which have been bent and curled every which way from Sunday. Rock cannot bend that way, Claire. Fail.
see, the fact that you even put forth that argument is one of the many reasons why people wonder how you're even mentally able to make YouTube videos. I can refute this facepalm-inducing point with a single word. Weathering. Are you familiar with weathering, Nephilim? I learned about it when I was in the 3rd grade.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, for your entertainment, I provide Claire. She's about to explain to us how she believes the strata of the earth in the mountains can be topsy-turvy folded, and how rock strata can bend.
Well, I've already done this, but let's hear what Claire has to say. She may be describing a different mechanism.
Because she's going to explain to you that it happened deep in the earth where things are hot, and then these mountains were uplifted afterward. This is going to be her explanation, but what you're going to witness is the complete collapse of rationale and reason in the mind of a uniformitarianist. You're going to see it for yourself with your own eyes. It's going to be very entertaining.
Sorry, Neff, but you chopped down the tree of reason a long time ago. Okay, it's at this point that I should tell you that the next clip of Nephilim Free is quite long. 4 minutes and 16 seconds, to be exact. No matter how many times I attempted, I cannot split the clip into pieces and debunk each piece individually. It doesn't make sense in any way unless you watch the entire clip at once. I'm sorry to do this to you, but you're going to have to watch the entire clip. Don't worry, I'll think of something to make the experience less tedious. Okay, let's begin.
Because she's going to explain to you that it happened deep in the earth where things are hot, and then these mountains were uplifted afterward. This is going to be her explanation, but what you're going to witness is the complete collapse of rationale and reason in the mind of a uniformitarianist. You're going to see it for yourself with your own eyes. It's going to be very entertaining. Watch this.
And they can be quite bendable, especially when buried to great depth.
I call this the Claire theory. She's going to explain to you. Now, here's point number 1. She says that, according to her theory, it happens that strata, sedimentary strata, are bent and folded and curled every topsy-turvy, every which way, because it happened while they were deep in the earth. Okay, that's point number 1. Don't forget that.
As we go deeper within the earth, things get hotter. 25 degrees centigrade per kilometer in non-tectonically active zones, and in zones where plates are crushing together and forming mountains, it's much hotter at depth. And the rocks become very plastic.
Okay, so she says it happens deep in the earth, the point 1. And point 2 is that the rock is plastic. The sedimentary strata down there are plastic because they're at a great depth, so they're very hot, and that's how they could bend. Okay, stay with us now.
Incidentally, calling mountains like the Alps, the Appalachians, the Rockies, folded mountains is only partially true because the rocks do have a limit in terms of their flexibility, and they do break to form something called thrust faults.
Okay, so now point 3 of the Claire theory is that rocks have limits, and they break because of pressure. And this creates faults.
Now, if I've already explained how rocks bend in mountain building episodes, so your comments about water are entirely irrelevant.
Okay, so here's the point 4 of her theory is that water is irrelevant to these sedimentary strata, which were bent deep in the earth where it's boiling hot.
But given that comment, I have to ask, have you ever heard of rain and snow? When it rains and snows on mountains, do you think it just all runs off? No, a lot of it seeps into the ground and gets into the rock layers via cracks and crevices and joints between the rocks. It's constantly replenished.
Okay, so point 5 of her theory is that water, gravity actually does pull water out of strata and out of mountains, just as it would if, as I said, shh, don't tell anybody, that as when the mountains rose, you know, the gravity pulled the water out of the sedimentary strata and they bent and curled while they were still wet and plastic? Okay, so let's piece together Claire's theory. Now, it happened deep in the earth where the strata were still hot, and so they were soft, and they were squeezed together, and that's why they bent and curled and twisty-turvy, and then the mountain was pushed up out of the earth. And a temperature which was extremely hot, so hot that rock was plastic, nearly molten. Claire, the strata are sedimentary. Do you understand what that means? They were formed by and in water. You have to believe that these strata were formed in water at a place where the temperature is so hot that rock becomes plastic. Where is this massive pool of boiling water? And how do sedimentary strata form when water is exploding? Claire, you're a bumble.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I honestly had no idea what to do with NephilimFree's argument. I couldn't even understand what he was trying to say until over 24 hours after I heard it. I have replayed the last 60 seconds of that clip over and over again, and only now have I actually realized what NephilimFree is trying to say. If I'm interpreting his argument correctly, Nephilim believes that Claire is claiming that the sedimentary rock layers are molten right after they form, meaning the water on top of them would suddenly boil away, I suppose? I'm not exactly sure. This isn't what she's claiming at all. She's saying that when rock layers build up on top of each other, the layers are being pushed down. As you approach the center of the Earth, temperature rises. As rock layers are exposed to higher temperatures, the rock layers become more plastic. In other words, the farther down the rock layers are pushed, the easier it is for those layers to fold. As the picture I provided shows, the right conditions aren't always met, and rocks do sometimes break when they fold. I suggest that you review Rhyme Maiden 1's video entitled Travel with Creatards 7, Nephi's Mud Mountain, for her explanation. It's a lot more in-depth than the one provided here. In any case, Nephilim, all that you've managed to do in those 4 minutes is erect a straw man and throw bricks at it. Congratulations.
One more point, Claire. The entire surface of the Earth is covered with bent strata. Virtually every hill on the Earth has bent strata, which were not formed deep in the Earth where the ground is hot and the stone is plastic. They were formed by water.
Oh, I'm going to need to make an entire video to address this point. Perhaps I'll make one in the future.
According to the Claire theory, the entire surface of the Earth was so hot that it was molten while evolution was going on.
Nephilim, if the only way that you can deal with someone's argument is to erect a straw man, then don't even bother trying to address the point. A quick note before I end this video. Some viewers have told me that I seem to be treating NephilimFree unkindly. Well, yes, I admit to doing this. I honestly don't care. NephilimFree insults well-grounded science and the people who study it, both professionally and in their free time. Most of us find science in the natural world beautiful, myself included. It is perfectly fine to question science or to try and get a better understanding of it. This will be welcomed with open arms. However, and I expect most science lovers to agree, when people like NephilimFree take a giant dump on the mountain of scientific knowledge, do not expect anything else but to be chastised soundly.
What did you do that for?
For being a bastard with no manners.
Not a duke of an idea how to comport yourself public-wise, oh my brother.